revered Swami Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, other revered monks, brahmacharis, and distinguished members of the alumni of Vidyashala, family members, teachers, and other guests. It's a great privilege, I consider it a great privilege to be here this morning to address you all. In Belur also, I have heard great things, not only about Vidyashala, but especially about the Old Boys Association. Just yesterday before I left, I was offering pranams to a very senior Swami, and he said, you go and see. Two things he told me, the Vidyashala and the Old Boys Association, and also this venue, Rimse. I was, for about 5 years, in a teachers training college in Belur. It's the Ramakrishna Mission Shikshana Mandira. And there we would often talk about Rimse, and people would tell us that please send your teachers to visit Rimse also. So both the Old Boys Association of the Vidyashala and our present location, Rimse, has its glory, its heritage. And really it is a privilege to be here in front of you this morning. The subject given by Revered Maharaj is the laws of the mind and the philosophy of happiness. And of course it's a very important subject. After all, what do we want more than happiness? All of us, whether you're children or grown-up people with families or monks, even spiritual people, all that we desire is happiness. But what is happiness and how do we get it? This is something that humanity has thought about, pondered upon for ages. Today, I will lay before you a synthesis of two approaches. One approach, the latest findings, discoveries, studies conducted by positive psychologists in the United States and in some European countries, and our ancient knowledge from India, our knowledge of yoga, our knowledge of bhakti, our knowledge of jnana, Vedanta. What does it say about human happiness? What can we learn from that, and how can we apply it to our own lives? So first we go to the West, where an interesting thing is taking place. A development of a new branch of psychology. You see, there is this person, a Professor Seligman, Martin Seligman, and those who are involved in psychology, they know his name. He was the president of the American Psychology Association, a very powerful body, for a few years at the beginning of this century. And he is most well known for his books on positive psychology, especially happiness. There's a book called Authentic Happiness, which he wrote, and it became a bestseller. He has worked on this field for many years, and he's a very humorous man. I've never met him personally, though I've been in correspondence with one of his students. And just by the way, it's interesting, that student, an Indian person of Indian origin, he wrote to me that, Swamiji, I've seen some of your videos, and I mentioned you to Professor Seligman, that there is an Indian monk who incorporates your findings into his studies, into his expositions. This Professor Seligman is a very humorous person. One talk which I saw, a video recording of a talk, he began the talk with an interesting joke, and I would like to tell this to you today. Somebody asked him, he said that a reporter, CNN, asked me, Professor Seligman, what is the state of psychology today? You are an eminent psychologist, what is the state of psychology today? And before I could answer, Professor Seligman said, that reporter, journalist said, see, this is CNN, you cannot give a long speech. You have to be very brief, sound bite. How long? One word. Professor Seligman said, one word, all right. Please ask the question. What is the state of psychology today, Professor Seligman? Good. No, cut. That is not enough. You have to be a little more, you have to explain a little more. How can I explain in one word? All right, we will give you some more time. This time 2 words. All right. Professor Seligman, what is the state of psychology today? And he replied, not good. The journalist is confused. Good, not good. Cut. We don't understand Professor Seligman. Can you explain a little more? This time we will give you 3 words.
Not good.
Alright. Professor Seligman, what is the state of psychology today? Not good enough. So he says, why psychology is good, why it is not good, and why it is not good enough, and how we can make it good enough. That has been my life's work. What he says is, see, if you look at psychology and psychiatry, it has achieved something. Diseases, schizophrenia, many other kinds of diseases, depression. Nowadays they have certain medicines which can deal with it, which can really give some relief. Those of us who have seen this wonderful movie, A Beautiful Mind, of the great mathematician John Nash, who died recently tragically. He suffered such a lot, and one psychiatrist told me, today if he had been alive, we could have taken better care of him. He suffered from mental illness, but he got a Nobel Prize for economics. Now today we have achieved that much progress in psychology that we can treat some diseases. But on the other hand, state is not good. Why? Professor Seligman says, see, all throughout in Western psychology we have been concerned with disease, depression, madness, how to deal with this and how to make it a little better. But what about human strengths? What about happiness? What about strength of character? What about the potential of the human mind? We never thought about that, never worked on it. So psychology and psychiatry, as if it is concerned only with illness or only with madness. So what about the positive side of human nature? What about human strength? Not just human weakness. So this Professor Seligman said, I made it my life's work to work on the positive side of human nature, not on the negative side, not on the side of sickness and illness and weakness. And when he became the president of the American Psychology Association, it's a powerful body, what he did was, and this is the important part, because they control the grants, research grants and all that, he said we will encourage studies in positive psychology. We will encourage studies in human happiness, scientific study, not just feel-good books, Dale Carnegie type of books or Stephen Covey type of books, not just that, serious scientific study in human happiness. And that led to the development of a new field which is now academically accepted. It's called the field of positive psychology. Last 10-15 years there has been the boom in this field, and some Indian departments also, Department of Psychology in some universities, they have positive psychology, they have incorporated into their courses. Now there are textbooks which are available on positive psychology. So these positive psychologists, what have they found? What is it that we can use in our lives? I will just take a quick look at that, and I will take you through that very quickly. Seligman's work is summed up in a very nice equation, which I will write here, and I will explain it. The equation goes like this. I'm sorry, I am used to being a teacher. So one moment I find a board and a pen to write, immediately the samskaras come up, so I start writing. H is equal to P plus E plus M. What does it mean? I'll talk about that. H, of course, as you can guess, stands for happiness. Now the moment we think about happiness, our first instinct is to turn to pleasure. Happiness means, which is very hard, I need a AC. Of course you don't need it in Mysore. Very comfortable. The whole city seems to be AC. Or some good food makes us happy. Tasty food. Or it can be more refined, I enjoy classical music. That also makes me happy. There's a range of pleasure, sense pleasure. You eat or you drink or you hear something nice, you see a beautiful scenery. It gives pleasure. And that is happiness. And the first instinct of human beings For example, children, they will always, happiness means doing something which is pleasurable to them. So, the first instinct is to turn to pleasure in search of happiness. And there is a whole range, from eating Mysore pak to listening to classical music. All of it is pleasure. Some of it is gross pleasure, some of it is very refined pleasure. But all of it is pleasure. Now the problem with pleasure, for thousands of years, teachers of spirituality in Hinduism, Buddhism and all religions, in fact, yogis and mystics, they have known this. What is the limitation of pleasure? Our Professor Seligman says, the problem with pleasure is, first of all, it is transient. You put that sweet meat, your chocolate into your tongue, on your tongue, and it is very pleasurable, but only for a few seconds. Then it is gone. In fact, the after effect will be more prolonged. Somebody, a very fat person, is saying that Swamiji, I enjoy eating sweets so much, but the doctor warned me. He said, it is 1 minute on your lips and lifetime on your hips. That's a hip expansion. You will never get rid of it. One of the most difficult things to get rid of in the world is a pot belly. Once you get it. So, pleasure is transient. It comes and goes very fast. Pleasure is habit forming. Just like a drug. That same thing will not give you so much pleasure later on. Imagine a little toy. Simple toy. I've seen children, poor children on the roadside, abandoned tire or a wheel or a tire. They will chase it, it will go round and round and they will chase it, and so much laughing and joy. And in one of my visits to a house in New Zealand, an Indian family, very well to do. So they have a grandchild, a little daughter, a granddaughter. Whole house is full of toys, and the child is not playing with the toys. See, if you give more and more, it does not mean the pleasure will increase. It does not increase actually. In economics, we all study, one of the first things we study is the law of diminishing marginal utility. The first unit you take of, say, a Mysore pak or a rasgulla, oh, pleasurable. Second, nice. Third, enough, no more, not pleasurable anymore. Fourth, you try to cover your plate, no, I don't want it. And fifth onwards, you feel uneasy. So the pleasure goes down, becomes zero, and becomes negative if you keep on forcing. This is the law of diminishing marginal utility. Pleasure is, you reach a level of satiation very quickly. But unfortunately, that satiation is not permanent. A samskara is created, a tendency is created, an addiction is created. So you want to repeat again after some time. And you want a variation. That old thing will not do anymore. Child wants more sophisticated toys, electronic toys. Grown-up people want more variations on food and drink and variations and variations. Because pleasure addictive, but you need variations to get that same pleasure again. So much like a drug. People in drug addiction have the same problem. The great English novelist, Somerset Maugham, he put it very beautifully. He writes in a book that if you single-mindedly chase pleasure, very soon you find nothing pleasing anymore. If you single-mindedly chase pleasure, very soon you find nothing pleasing anymore. So pleasure has a limit. It gives some happiness, but there are so many limitations of pleasure. Luckily, there is another source of happiness. Seligman says he discovered it in talking with people of all walks of life. Much greater source of happiness. He calls it P is for pleasure. He calls the next one E, engagement. Engagement. Job, career, hobby, engagement. It's not pleasure, it absorbs you. You are engaged in that. That gives happiness. And much more happiness. Just think about it. All of us here are mature. How many of us spend the whole week chasing pleasure or partying or having fun? Only maybe a few children or teenagers might do that. Once you grow out of a certain age, most of your time is spent in work. Either in the house or in the office or in the community. It is engagement which takes up most of our time. not pleasure. And in engagement in your job, you will be very lucky if you find an engagement which you enjoy, which you find absorbing. You will find one characteristic of successful people in any field of life. They enjoy the work they are doing. They enjoy the work they are doing. It absorbs them. And this is what Seligman calls engagement. It may be a corporate executive, it may be a software engineer, it may be a teacher, it may be a housewife and a mother. But the common thing to all of them is their main source of happiness is their engagement. If they enjoy the work that they are doing. If they do not enjoy, then they are very unlucky. Because most of the time they will be engaged in this work, and if they do not enjoy it, it will be a source of unhappiness and frustration. So engagement, if you are lucky enough to find it, is a great source of happiness. Much greater in fact than pleasure. Those who do not find so much happiness in the jobs, they may find it in the hobbies, for example. So somebody plays a game. The difference between pleasure and engagement is like this. If you watch a cricket match on TV, it's pleasure. And if you play a cricket match with the old boys maybe, it is engagement. The game which you play may not be of that quality which you are watching on the TV. They are expert players. But you will find more pleasure and happiness in playing that game with other friends. Because the difference is passive pleasure, watching TV, and an active engagement, where you are challenged, somebody is bowling and to return you have to hit the ball. This engagement of your faculties, that gives more happiness than pure passive pleasure, sitting down, a couch potato, watching TV. Engagement is a great source of happiness. He has shown interviews, Professor Seligman, with surgeons, brain surgeon, 6-7 hour operation. Now it sounds like torture, but that person says, I don't know when time has gone, because the surgeon is so deeply absorbed in the operation, 5-6 hours has gone and he is not aware of it. That is the joy of engagement. At that time it might be painful or it might be hard work, but the satisfaction you gain out of it is much greater. Mothers have a great advantage that way, because they automatically take care of the children. And if you ask mothers, and from time to time they will say, we are finding the children very frustrating. A lot of tension is there, frustration is there, taking care of the children. But when you ask them, you look back, Seligman did that. When you look back upon your life, 10 years, raising a child, is it satisfying or not? They all will say yes. There is a great satisfaction. Teachers. So the very occupation of teaching, those who are great teachers always enjoy teaching. That is the greatest joy of their lives, to teach. And that gives a great amount of happiness and satisfaction. That is engagement. But Seligman says, there is something beyond that. Not many people find it, but those who find it are most lucky. Something which gives more happiness than engagement. You see, engagement also has its limits. You will find the most active, absorbed, workaholic corporate executive at one time will complain of emptiness, meaninglessness. What is the purpose of all this? And especially at retirement age, you have been engaged for 30 years, 40 years in doing something, and suddenly it's switched off, and life becomes a vacuum. Body is deteriorating, old age has come, and then the engagement has also gone from life. So what do you do with life? And what was the meaning of the last 30, 40 years which you passed? There is something greater beyond engagement. And Seligman gives a name, meaning in life. Something meaningful. Something that is engaging, which absorbs you, may not be very meaningful. It is quite engaging to go on mountain trekking, for example, climbing a mountain. It is not pleasure, it's hard work, but engaging. That is fine. But not very meaningful. After you have climbed 1 or 2 mountains, it's not very meaningful to go up and down rocks all the time. Or any such engaging activity. Even a great corporate career or even an academician. Meaning in life. I remember just today in the morning, Reverend Maharaj was quoting Sureshanandaji about the limitations of scholarship. And I remember the story which I will share with you now. Great scholar finds deep engagement in study. And we have seen such people. Throughout their lives, they have cultivated knowledge in science and philosophy and literature, whatever. Now, I met one day, few years ago, a great philosopher. He is one of the greatest living Indian philosophers. And this person, he has mastered, he has made a name for himself in Western philosophy also, in phenomenology. So he is still alive, I will not take his name. Very advanced age. He told me in Institute of Culture, after a lecture he was presiding, after that, during tea time, he told me, Swamiji, I am feeling depressed. Why, sir? You see, I had this stroke. Now my mind has slowed down. I am forgetting so many things. Now imagine what a great blow it is to a scholar. Like a multimillionaire or billionaire who has accumulated money throughout his life. If he loses that money, it's like his life's work is going away. Similarly, a scholar who has accumulated knowledge throughout his life, if memory starts failing, mind is not working sharply enough, it is like the treasure he has accumulated throughout his life, which is going away. And naturally he feels depressed. Yesterday, Mr. Karthik was sharing with me the aviation history of Bangalore. We were driving through Bangalore and how I think Kingfisher and Deccan and all, they started in Bangalore. Now, there's a problem with the airline industry. I read a joke recently which says, how do you become an airline multimillionaire, aviation multimillionaire? How do you become an aviation multimillionaire? Because you have to start off as an aviation multi-billionaire. Once you enter the industry, you will become a multimillionaire, lose your money. When a scholar loses his scholarship, his knowledge, naturally he feels depressed. Now I remembered something very interesting. There was a very senior old monk in Belur Mutt who has passed away now, Swami Mokshadanandaji. And he was extremely scholarly. He was not very well known outside the order, but those who are monks, senior monks, they know him very well. And he was very highly regarded for his scholarship in Sanskrit, in the scriptures. And as a young brahmachari, I also used to go to him sometimes with questions, and he would invariably give a satisfying reply. One day when he was old and sick, I went to him with a question, and he could not reply. Memory is not working. Now see the answer. He thought about it, could not reply. Then he said, you see, I am old and ill now. Memory is fading, those things are going away. Then with a big smile he said in Bengali, I will translate for you. He said, Oh Jaat or Kaj Vayegas, let that scholarship go, its work is done. It's like he has taken the butter out of the milk. No, he has got the essence of that scholarship. He has read about God all his life in the scriptures. And he has got this deep intuitive conviction or realization, I don't know what. Now he does not need the books anymore. The joy and the bliss is within now. He says, let the books go. Let the knowledge go. Baba, I cannot answer your question, but I have no regret about it. I am in great joy and bliss. Now that is the difference. Where you move from simple engagement in academics to really getting the essence of spiritual knowledge. Then I shared that story with that scholar, and with nearly tears in his eyes, he said, Swamiji, that is the actual purpose of study. That is the purpose of study. Not to master something and remember it and teach it and write books, all that is good. But to find real, true, spiritual knowledge within, that is the whole purpose. I am so glad you told me this story. Now, meaningful life. You move from engagement, very satisfying career, to something meaningful. Imagine Gandhiji. Pleasure in life, almost nothing. Goat's milk, little khadi, loincloth. When he went to meet King George, No, when he went to meet the Viceroy in present Rashtrapati Bhavan, it was the Viceroy's palace at that time. And Lord Mountbatten, with all medals and everything, Lord Louis Mountbatten, gorgeous dress. And Gandhiji with his little line club, very frugal. Somebody asked him, why didn't you wear more clothes? And Gandhiji said, the Viceroy wore enough for both of us. So-called pleasures in life, nothing. Very strict, frugal life. Engagement, not really. Even the politics, which politicians find so engaging, you would withdraw. The moment the country became independent, completely withdrawn from politics. His pleasure, his joy, happiness is not in engagement also, but in meaning. In meaning. He is working for millions and millions of his countrymen, for the betterment of the poorest of the poor. He told the politicians, when the country became independent, that your guiding mantra should be, the decisions which I take in Parliament, will they help, will they be of help to the poorest Indian alive? Today what decision I take, what argument I put in Parliament, what bill I propose, will it help the poorest man in my country? Now the meaning in life, where I help others, poor people, Harijans, because of women, that gives meaning to his life. And there is beyond that, there is a deeper meaning also, which we will come to later on. In the autobiography of his autobiography, Experiments with Truth, he says, people ask me, what are you? Some people think that I am a freedom fighter. Gandhiji says. Some people think that I am a politician. He says this. But if you ask me, I am not a freedom fighter. I am not even a politician. I think of myself as a simple man in search of God. A simple man in search of God. Politics, freedom fighting, my Ram Naam singing, my fasting, brahmacharya, all of them, one purpose only. I am searching for God. That gives meaning in life. There is an internal source of satisfaction, internal source of joy. And now, Seligman says, that's the highest. It gives the greatest and most permanent satisfaction. And this American professor has a very nice way of teaching. What he did was in his class, to illustrate to young students, boys and girls, how do you illustrate this point? What he did was, one day in the class, he told the young American boys and girls, today no class will be there. We are going to see a movie. Very happy. The professor took them to a movie. Students are happy. You have to run away from the professor to go to a movie now. Sir is saying that we will go to a movie together. Let us go. So they went to the movie. After they came back, the professor gave them a questionnaire. Please fill up this questionnaire and give the answers. And the question was, how do you rate the movie? Your satisfaction from the movie. 0 to 5. 0, no satisfaction. 5, highest satisfaction. And they gave some rating. 3, 4, 5, something. Next week again he said, today again no class. Movie sir? Not movie. Today we will go to the poor section of this town, east end of the city, and I have arranged clothes, gifts, toys, which we will take, toys and clothes, to the kids who have been gathered there. We will spend the afternoon with the kids, we will make friends with them, and we will give gifts to them. So they all went, and they had a nice time, came back, questionnaire. Rate your satisfaction with this activity, 0 to 5, and they gave some rating, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Now the interesting thing comes. 3 months later, again suddenly in the class, questionnaire. Give the answer. What is the question? Now when you look back upon it, 3 months ago we went to a movie one day. How much satisfaction do you get from it now? 0 to 5. Students are thinking, many of us, we cannot remember the name of the movie also. Some satisfaction now, if I think about it, yes, something was there. Some satisfaction was there, now nothing almost is there. Think back upon it. We went to that place and made friends with the children and we give them gifts. Whole afternoon we spent in joy with those little kids. Now when you think back upon it, how much satisfaction do you get now? And they say, sir, we remember. And every time we think about it, unchanged, undiminished satisfaction. We are so glad we spent that afternoon with the children. And even now they are giving 4 or 5 out of, from 0 to 5 satisfaction with that activity. 3 months later. But the satisfaction from movie is pleasure. Spending the afternoon with the children, helping them, giving them gifts, meaningful activity. Meaningful activity gives undying satisfaction. Till the end of their lives also, that one afternoon if they look back, they will be happy. You feel happy. Anything that you do for others. One interesting thing about meaning in life is, you see, pleasure and engagement are concerned with yourself. Meaning invariably is concerned with others. Of course, sometimes meaning may be deep inside also, like a scientist or an artist, you may find meaning in that. But invariably it's concerned with helping others, expanding beyond the self. So meaningful activity, he gives higher rating. In fact, he draws a chart based on psychology studies, how much pleasure, and he gives a chart. Says pleasure gives this much happiness, engagement gives more, and meaning is literally off the chart. Much more happiness. So though the 3 components of happiness are pleasure, engagement and meaning, but our focus should be more on meaning and somewhat on engagement rather than pleasure. This is something that we must learn. Look at our engagement in life. Family and job, that is important. How we can find joy there. In hobbies, that is engagement. And moreover, in meaning. This today you have sacrificed 3 days to come here, including weekend. Now, whether you are happy or sad now, it's a meaningful activity. When you look back upon it afterwards, you will uniformly be satisfied with it. That was a good thing that I did. It is very satisfying. So meaning gives maximum happiness. Now, let me take it one step forward. In India, all of us, from Kanyakumari from Kanyakumari up to Kashmir and from Assam to Mumbai, everywhere, this term is, people know this term. 4 Purusharthas. Dharmartha Kama Moksha. Dharmartha Kama Moksha. We repeat it, we don't think much about it. What do we have in human life? What do people want in life? Kama, Artha, Dharma, Moksha. Does it make sense now? If you think about it, Kama means you can map it very easily. You can map it very easily. Can you tell me? Kama would be, yes, correct. Pleasure. Kama. Kama, desire, satisfying desires. Pleasure. Artha, wealth, power, achievement, knowledge, position in society, status. You can more or less put under engagement, yes, correct. Artha. And dharma is a word, if you look at a dictionary, so many meanings are there. Whole page will be full of meanings. One way you can do is a meaningful life, moral life, good life, life of service. Goodness is associated with dharma. So somewhat stretching it a bit, you can associate meaning with dharma. And moksha we will keep in bracket later on. I was thinking, when I read Seligman, how amazing that our thinkers in our country, thousands of years ago, they already have that insight, which our Professor Seligman in America, 21st century, is writing books about and positive psychology and all that, such a big hoopla going on. For centuries we have had that understanding. What gives satisfaction in human life? Very clearly in our Shastras we find Kama, pleasure. More than that, Artha, satisfaction, and Artha means engagement, power, wealth, and so on. And more than that, Dharma, morality, meaningful life. Kama also is exactly the same disadvantages as pleasure. Any type of satisfying desires is Kama. People want it. Now, Purushartha here does not mean that the Shastras are telling us that you have to do it. Not necessarily. It's a description of what we generally want, what people want in life, that is classified under these four. And it's quite interesting to see that when we speak, we do not say like this, Kama Artha Dharma. What do we say? Dharma Artha Kama. Automatic. Throughout the country, anywhere you say, people will say Dharma Artha Kama. Not Kama Artha Dharma. Not pleasure, engagement, meaning, but meaning first, then engagement and pleasure. The idea was that have the basis of dharma, then you can chase engagement and pleasure on the basis of dharma. You see, I did an MBA long ago, and why? Okay. Yeah, it's okay. Why I did an MBA is also an interesting story. I wanted to become a monk, and Divya Jagannath Maharaj, he visited the city in which I was staying. I was a little boy at that time. Yeah, I was a student in college actually, not little. And somebody told me the principal of the training center of Belur Math, Jagannath Maharaj, was now.
Yes.
He was visiting at that time. So I was very eager to go and talk to him. He understood that I wanted to become a monk. And then he said, how old are you? I was 18 or 19. So you are very young. What you do is, I'll tell you, you finish your studies, earn some money. When you become independent of your parents, he knows the condition of Indian children. When you become independent of your parents, with money in your hands and all that, then you ask your mind, do you want to become a monk? At that time, if your mind says, yes, then you become a monk. Very good. So such a mature advice. And I did that. That's why actually I went into MBA, so that I could quickly get a job and earn some money and quickly leave it also. So that's how I went in there. But the interesting thing is, I met many friends who later on went on to do many things in life. When I became a monk, after my MBA, one of my friends, he told me, why do you want to become a monk? I said, I will find happiness there. I'm searching for God, I want happiness in spiritual life. And then my friend told me, you're mad. You're mad. I said, what will make you happy? He said, I will be happy. He said, I'm very clear what will make me happy. And I'm giving this as an example, not because of my friend, but it is the typical mentality which you find among young and successful people, engineers and MBAs and all today. He said, 5 things I want. I will be extremely happy in life, fully satisfied. Imagine, he is just 26 to 27, beginning his career in life. Just finished his MBA. What do you want in life which will make you happy? He says, he told me, yes, okay, that's what he told me, I want a multinational job. Anybody who is finishing an MBA wants a placement in a multinational corporation. I want a high-paying multinational job. And can you hear? Oh, okay. Or I can. No, that's okay. Use this also. It's working. It's working. Number 1, I want a high-paying job. I want the best car. I want a fantastic apartment. And I have this beautiful girl I want to marry and lots of children. He loves kids. So 5 things if I get, I will be most happy. Very good. I became a monk and he went on his way. 10 years later, suddenly I got a phone call from him. That was before the age of, just mobiles had not come, so landline. Do you remember me? I am so and so. I said, yes. I had heard about you. And that he got married to a very successful young lady who did her engineering in USA and came back. He has a child, is working for GE, and of course, then he must have got his car and apartment and everything. So I thought he must be very happy. I had heard that. So I said, why don't you come over? If you come to Calcutta, you can meet me. He said, yes, I'm going to Calcutta. You see, I have to complete my divorce proceedings. Now, I did not remind him what he had told me 10 years earlier. That would have been cruel. But this is the process of maturation in life. You think this will make me happy? I sincerely believe I will get these 5 things, I will be happy. The thing which happens nowadays is young people, especially compared to the older generation, the younger generation, the big changes, that success is attained very quickly. Not so quickly in the earlier generations. Professor Anand, who was the director of IIT Chennai, he was the board of management of our in Vivekananda University. He had come to visit Belur Mutt, and at that time the government was expanding the IITs, and he was explaining how difficult it is to expand. We are saying yes, so much land and buildings and all. He said, Swamiji, land and buildings are no problem at all. We have enough money. We have enough land. Machines, buildings, land, all are possible. Students, all we can get. But the big problem is, I think some of you may know, faculty. We can't get faculty. Why not? This one? From those connections? That's all. Yeah. Put it there. Correct. So you're saying that faculty is a problem. Why is faculty a problem? Yes.
Speaking from the heart.
Speaking from the heart. Well put. Why is faculty a problem? He said, you see, today my son is earning more than me. He has just got into a job. I am the head of this IIT at the top of my career. Today what I am earning, that young fellow has just got into his first job, is earning more than that. So why should any of my students, they all think, why should we be fools and come and teach? We can go and get much more money. So that achievement, that comes much faster now. But the disillusionment also comes much faster. Burnout also comes much faster. Now you see the wisdom in this arrangement. Kama and Artha, fine, but Dharma is more important. Some of my friends, they have said to me, after 10, 15 years when I meet them, and many others also of that age group, now they have jobs, they have wives or husbands, they have children, and now they come and many of them say to me, we now know that our lives will go in this way only. It will get, slight changes will be there, but more or less we know, fixed. And we are not getting any more meaning, money, any more enjoyment, happiness in life. How to get satisfaction in life? Problem with our modern civilization is, consumerist civilization is, when you ask this question, how do I get more happiness in life?